would like to start by suggesting, as Bob has already pointed out, that the ballot summary seems like a neat, clean, simple option that is available to the town in place of the present town meeting. In practice, Bob had mentioned that there is a 30-page document, and I just hope that you can see that those 30 pages are filled with details of how the operation of a mayoral form of government will go forward. What we are voting on is not the summary, it is this document and all that it applies. You know, we're talking about turning over a system of government that has stood South Hadley rather well for some 250 years. That's how long some form of town meeting has controlled the way this government will operate. That's quite a change, and major changes have major consequences. Some of them good, some of them bad, some of them not in keeping with what the proponents of the change really anticipated. Before we're done, Connie had mentioned that there were 4 communities that converted to a mayoral form of government about the time that South Hadley last explored this option. 2 of them are faring, I gather, fairly well. 2 of them might be regretting the option that they made, and we'll go into that just a little bit later. The essence of what is being proposed is top-down government, highly centralized, efficient, able to respond to issues in a timely manner. What is missing is citizen participation that has been the heart of this community since its foundation. What is missing is the collective wisdom of a number of the townspeople as they address each of the issues that come before them. Before we're done, I just want to contrast the way the school budget will be handled in the future in place of the way it is handled now. And maybe this is a good time to do it. You know, under the present form of government, the 120 of your town meeting elected officials that sit as a town meeting board gathered together, and contrary to what you've heard, the attendance has been rather well, excellent. I went back and took the tally of all town meetings since May of 2000. And in all of them, annual and special, the town meeting attendance has been over 75%. On regular annual town meetings, it is 79.5%. The charge that town meeting members don't care about what they're doing and don't accept their responsibility is false. To consider the school board budget, the school committee meets and determines a budget. There is a process where they meet with the select board and they meet with the appropriations committee as a way of, by way of reaching their determination of how much money we should allocate to the education of our children. Roughly 50% of the budget. That budget is then submitted to an appropriations board of 9 members. 9 very conservative, bright, business-oriented, fiscally sound members who come up with their version of what the town ought to allocate for the education of our children. That difference then goes before town meeting. And both sides have an opportunity to debate before those town meeting members so that when the vote is taken, it isn't like they're not knowledgeable. They're very knowledgeable about the consequences of the way that budget is allocated. When they're done, It has reached the consensus of the town. It isn't a mandate handed down from above. Contrast that with what is being proposed under the mayoral form of government. The council of 7 members is the body that determines the budgets for the town. It will receive input undoubtedly from the mayor. It will receive input from whoever else is authorized to speak for the various departments. But it will be those 7 members who will decide. 4 of the 7 constitute a majority. Now, it doesn't mean that the person who disagrees with you doesn't know what they're talking about. It doesn't mean that you're right and they're wrong. But we all know that there can be significant differences of opinion, and that a small group of people can reach, especially when they talk to each other, can reach controversial decisions. One only has to look at the fiscal responsibility with which South Hadley has pursued its agenda these past years. Right now, between free cash and the other fund, stabilization fund, there is $3.8 million available to our town fathers that are not currently allocated in the budget, that can be used to meet emergencies and whatever. There are the funds that generated by the DPW and other groups. But just compare that 3.8 million and the fiscal responsibility that exists in South Hadley today with what is the crisis that now exists in Greenfield as they struggle to meet their fiscal responsibility, and East Hampton, which I believe has well under $2 million available to it today. All I want to emphasize is nobody knows the future, but if ever there was a time when we ought to proceed carefully, when we ought to proceed conservatively, when big jumps are not appropriate, I would argue that this is such a time, and that if we want to continue the stable, the community-oriented, the ability of town people to work together for a common goal, we will vote against the mere form of government.